welcome to our event, Brainstorming Coffee Group. We are inviting tonight Mr. Harvey Kaiser. He will be the main presenter, and he is bringing an amazing topic for you that have family, that have is to learn how we can sell. Imagine, picture a little bit how important it is to sell. So the topic that we have tonight is sales skills, and we're gonna be doing a workshop. Harvey will guide us, and I welcome you for being here. Thanks for all your support, and I welcome Ruth. I see Lynette and Sean. Thank you guys. Take this time to learn something new. It's a new skill, but if you're already a salesperson or you are an entrepreneur, I'm sure you have the experience on sales, but we're gonna dig a little bit and become better at what we want, we love, and we want to develop in our, which is sales. I'm delighted to present Harvey. Harvey, this is all yours.
Well, hello, everybody. It's
Hello.
great to see you all. The one thing I thought that I would want to mention and talk about is this is geared to a public presentation. Guys listening, is that this cannot address your particular needs. This will not address your particular niche. This pretty much will be about mindset and some generalizations, and the topics will be generalized due to I can't speak to your individual niche and your particular needs. However, there will be some hints in here, and mostly, like I said, we're going to talk a lot about mindset and why business owners and why salespeople fail and why they wash out. What causes the washout? Did you know that most businesses no more than a year or two wash out just after what is it, like 90%? 80% of your business, 1-year-old businesses wash out after a year. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It's generally because of some of the reasons we're going to go over. But before I do that, I just want to give you all a little bit about my background. I assume that a few of you guys that are here have heard this already. You have, but this is being recorded and will be seen by many viewers that have not heard this before. So I'm going to have to make sure that I do a version for those of you who have not heard that. So any of you guys that are interested to know is I've got 50 years of experience as a salesperson and a sales professional. I started as a sales professional in my very first business. I was 20 years old. At 21 years old, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just a very impulsive and impetuous kid. And I thought I knew everything, like most 21-year-olds.
Yeah.
And most of us think that way at that age.
Yeah.
And I knew a lot about my product, however. I knew a lot about this was at the time I was selling low voltage security products. And I had a background in engineering, when I had a background in marketing, and I put the two of them together just with what I have learned, but not with what I've experienced. And my very first sale ever was when I was 21. I had a referral. I went up to this big shot Hollywood developer. He developed large exclusive housing residential areas. And I went to his house on this referral, and I don't know how it happened, but I made the sale. My best guess is I was the cheapest. And I don't sell that here. I do not sell price. That's not one of the things that I do. I've learned a lot better than that, is we don't sell price. What we do train, and what I do train, and what we need to do is sell value, not price. However, I didn't know any better. So I sold price, and I'm sure that's the only reason I got the deal. So the guy gives me this check, and I go home with the check, and I wake up the next morning, and the check is hanging out of my dog's mouth, the saliva all over it. So I took a look at him, and I was quite devastated, because it meant to me that I had to go back to this guy again after the sale and ask for another check. That was my first experience in sales. So I did that, and it was just a great lesson for me. And just from there, I started my own business, and it actually became quite successful. And after that, I actually had two businesses, both were very successful, and I trained a lot of salespeople in my experience as a business owner. And after quite some time, I sold both businesses. I sold one, started another, and sold that. I was just excited to be able to do that, and I started to see where my edge and where my niche was, and that I was really able to launch businesses, sell them, know how to be successful in them. But after a while, I got tired of worrying about the overhead. I got tired about worrying about all of the things that business owners need to deal with and need to worry about. And I thought I would take the burden off my own shoulders for a while. And I went to work for a Fortune 500 company, a very well-known one. And I started as their salesperson. And from there, I graduated to a sales manager. And from there, I graduated to a sales trainer. And
Wow.
from there, I graduated to their national sales trainer. So I was going all over the country, training sales teams on the technique and the mechanics, not just in product knowledge. Product knowledge is a must. Before I train any sales techniques, before I train any sales mechanics, the first thing I ask of any of my trainees is they know the product inside and out, backwards and forwards, because that is a must. You can't train technique without them having that knowledge. So once they have that knowledge, there is actual mechanics and techniques that we go through. So after doing this for a number of years, it was about the time COVID hit. I wasn't really able to do my job any longer. Due to COVID, I couldn't really be in people's homes. I couldn't be around a lot of people because I have a pre-existing condition that does not allow me to catch COVID. So the next best thing for me to do was to retire. And I did. I retired for a number of years, but out of boredom, I actually was going crazy. I actually was becoming and getting on the edge of depression. And I didn't realize why. I did a little exploration to find out why. And what I had found out in retirement was that I needed to have purpose. I just needed to find out what that purpose was.
That's true.
And I discovered what that purpose was really had to do with helping others. And I got to that because I had studied for years with my wife. My wife is a psychotherapist. I have been to dozens and dozens of her trainings with her. I went with her to her trainings where she was being trained 45 years ago to be a psychotherapist. So I was very familiar with the trade, familiar with the industry. The only thing I wasn't able to do at my age in retirement was I could have, but at my age, I did not want to go back to school for years and years and years to become licensed in psychotherapy. So I did the next best thing, is I actually trained to become a life coach. And I love that. I became a certified life coach. So not only am I a certified sales trainer, but I'm also a certified life coach. But I'm actually twice certified. I have a couple of different certifications for that. But coming out of that, my mentor and my coach, who happens to be Paul Dadu, and I graduated a school called Life Coach Training Institute, just to give you guys a plug. And what I had learned and what he had said to me is I needed to step into a niche that I felt comfortable in. I needed to step into an area where I wasn't going to feel any imposter syndrome, where I knew I'd be able to step right into it and be comfortable and know that there wasn't any imposter syndrome, that I belonged there, and that I actually could do good for people that wanted to learn sales. I could actually give back to business owners who had no idea how to run a business. And the reason why they wash out, why we were talking about that, is because they don't expect to know about sales. They think that it'll either come to them out of the clear blue sky, or they think the product will attract them to it. They don't realize that they've got competition and there are other people with the same product. And they need to, as a sales business owner and a sales professional, we need to stand out from the rest. What makes you different? Why should I buy your product, Ruth? Why should I buy your product, Sean? How do you stand out from your competition? Frania, how do you do that? It's important that you know how to stand out from your competition. And that's what I train. And that's one of the most important things to know when launching your own business and getting into sales. A business owner should not be under any illusion that the most important part of their business is their sales, because their revenue comes from sales. Without sales, no revenue. No revenue, no business.
That's
So
true.
it's a very important fact for everybody to learn. You agree, Frania?
Yes, agree. Totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what that did for me is becoming a life coach and stepping into the niche of sales training gave me purpose again.
Mhm.
It gave me vision. It gave me the opportunity to give back to people. And I felt alive, and I do feel alive. And this is my joy. Doing what I'm doing right now is my passion. And if you ever are my client, you will notice that. You will see the passion in what I train. So that being said, just a couple of introductions from each one of you, just so everyone else can get to know and hear from you. And if there's something that you've got to win over today, like something that you can be excited about, if you could tell us in a sentence or two, that would be great also, just to add to this. So, because you will be part of this video up to this point. So, Sean, what's been happening with you? Anything recently that you want to tell us about in your biz?
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
My name is Sean, and I was introduced to, well, actually, I introduced myself to Harvey, and I got to know Harvey briefly and got invited by Harvey to join this seminar. I myself, I am a software engineer and a business owner. I built a web app and mobile app for restaurants to accept contactless payments and contactless ordering.
Listen to this. Listen to what his product is. Go on, Sean.
Yeah, and my target market are restaurants, food trucks, coffee shops, and hotels. And I'm here to learn more about the opportunities of improving my sales skills, communication skills. Yeah.
Okay, that's great, Sean. Thank you. So look at this. What his product really is when you go into a restaurant, do you know how many times you sat there waiting for a waiter? How many times have you sat there and the order was wrong? The food came out cold or didn't come out at all. You needed water, you needed something else. Well, he's got a little tablet that sits on the table, and anything that you need, what his product does is it saves the restaurant's reputation. Because as a customer, you just hit what you need and out it comes.
Wow.
Right? I'm going to teach him how to sell that when he gives me that opportunity, right, Sean?
Nice. Yes. Nicely said, Harvey. Very nicely presented.
Thank
you.
Do the same. Soon enough. Okay, so Ruth, what was your win? I see your lovely face.
So this is Ruth from a suburb of Denver, Colorado, and I am starting a business as a dementia coach, and Harvey is supporting me. And I really know nothing about sales as a retired nurse. So I am in an area that makes me anxious and nervous, and I don't have confidence, which is unusual for me. And so I'm learning this sales business from the ground up, even though I'm pretty comfortable with dementia coaching. So I'm here to learn.
Go ahead. Welcome, Ruth.
Thank you.
So do you all see the next screen up? It says, this is, just so you know, the landing page of my website. Now, most people and most salespeople think their websites are going to save them and it's going to give them all of the business, but I have found that not to be true. Unless you're strictly online with an online product that you sell right off your website, you're doing e-commerce. If you're not doing e-commerce, your website's helpful, but that's all it is. It's helpful. It's a support. It's something that people will look at if they're going to use you sometimes. But I will bet you that most of you guys have never even gone to my website. I'm probably right. And the reason why is it's not used that often. However, I still constructed mine to be as supportive as possible and to be as true and to resonate true as possible. And this is my landing page, and it's not an accident. This is my landing page. This is about what we're talking about now. What it says is what? Removing blocks to mastering sales. What in the heck am I talking about? What blocks? Well, you were just listening to a couple of guys share a little bit about their nervousness and their lack of experience with sales. And my experience with sales, which happens to be 50 years of it, is most people are scared to death. They feel a fear of rejection. Even salespeople have this sense of rejection. And what they do is they get busy with busy work instead of doing what they need to do. And another statistic, other than the washout statistic, is that as a business owner, did you know this, Frania, that 70 to 80% of your time should be spent, if you want paying clients, 70 to 80% of your time should be spent in prospecting new clients. That is a statistic that is true. And it doesn't come from me. It comes from all of the manuals. And by the way, most sales professionals and business owners have never even read a sales manual.
Right.
That's another important fact. It's 80%.
Good statistic.
80% have never even read a sales manual. That's with sales professionals. Those are people that sell. So what stops us, and the reason why this removing blocks is so important to deal with, is because what our blocks really are is they come from our limited belief systems. Somewhere inside of us, we have been told somewhere, and this isn't a blame game. This isn't about going back and blaming your parents or blaming anybody that you brought up with. But what it really is about is we have been taught that we're not good enough. By someone, somewhere, we have brought that belief on ourselves. We're too old. We're too young. We're too thin. We're too fat. We're too white. We're too black. We're too yellow. We're too green. We're something that's not good enough. So we go into this game feeling that anxiety and fear before we even attempt to do anything. So how are we gonna, in the sales business, how are we gonna deal with that sense of rejection? How do I help my trainees get past that? And the very, very first thing they have to do is create a vision for themselves. That has to take precedence over everything. I actually ask my trainees to sit down and write out what your vision for yourself is. Where do you see yourself in a year from now?
Right.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? And it isn't just about business, it's about your whole life. Because I deal with the whole person, because every single person is different. And when I'm going to train a salesperson, I need to know his strong points, I need to know his weak points. And we improve and we enhance on that. So you should hear some of the visions I've heard from you.
Yeah.
They're remarkable. And when someone comes out and says that they want to be able to support their family to the point that they don't have to worry about money anymore, that they're going to have a loving mother and or father at home for them at all times. What a beautiful vision that is. And if you could take that vision and hold it out to supersede any of your fear and rejection, that is one good way to start. Like when you're afraid to go knock on that next door, you're afraid to make that next call, take a look at your vision for a second and tell me which is more important.
Mhm.
Your own fear or your vision. The next way to deal with that is to do it. The next way to do it is you have your vision and you've got to just do it. You have to get through the fear by holding your vision out in front of you and doing it. What most people lack in this process is the ability to hang in there. This is a paradox. It's a twofold statement. I was talking to a couple of you guys the other day about this. First, you've got to hang in there. And second, you've got to let go. So they're two opposites, but you've got to do both at the same time. On the outside, you have to push. On the outside, you have to present, you have to speak, you have to engage, you have to knock on that door. But on the inside, we need to let go of the results and just adjust. So it's a deep breath in to get it done and a deep breath out to let go. And both are important. This next video I'm going to play for you guys is a video on getting it done and what it takes and what makes successful people successful. This is a very famous, well-known psychologist out of, I think she's from California, and she's done several TED Talks, and this is one of them.
When I was 27 years old, I left a very demanding job in management consulting for a job that was even more demanding, teaching. I went to teach 7th graders math in the New York City public schools. And like any teacher, I made quizzes and tests. I gave out homework assignments. When the work came back, I calculated grades. What struck me was that IQ was not the only difference between my best and my worst students. Some of my strongest performers did not have stratospheric IQ scores. Some of my smartest kids weren't doing so well. And that got me thinking, the kinds of things you need to learn in 7th grade math, sure, they're hard. Ratios, decimals, the area of a parallelogram, but these concepts are not impossible. And I was firmly convinced that every one of my students could learn the material if they worked hard and long enough. After several more years of teaching, I came to the conclusion that what we need in education is a much better understanding of students and learning from a motivational perspective, from a psychological perspective. In education, the one thing we know how to measure best is IQ. But what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? So I left the classroom and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist. I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy. We tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. We went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods, asking which teachers are still going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year. And of those, who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students? We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. A few years ago, I started studying grit in the Chicago public schools. I asked thousands of high school juniors to take grit questionnaires and then waited around more than a year to see who would graduate. Turns out that grittier kids were significantly more likely to graduate, even when I matched them on every characteristic I could measure, things like family income, standardized achievement test scores, even how safe kids felt when they were at school. So it's not just at West Point or the National Spelling Bee that grit matters, it's also in school, especially for kids at risk for dropping out. To me, the most shocking thing about grit is how little we know, how little science knows about building it. Every day, parents and teachers ask me, how do I build grit in kids? What do I do to teach kids a solid work ethic? How do I keep them motivated for the long run? The honest answer is, I don't know. What I do know is that talent doesn't make you gritty. Our data show very clearly that there are many talented individuals who simply do not follow through on their commitments. In fact, in our data, grit is usually unrelated or even inversely related to measures of talent. So far, the best idea I've heard about building grit in kids is something called growth mindset. This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck, and it is the belief that the ability to learn is not fixed, that it can change with your effort. Dr. Dweck has shown that when kids read and learn about the brain and how it changes and grows in response to challenge, they're much more likely to persevere when they fail because they don't believe that failure is a permanent condition. So growth mindset is a great idea for building grit, but we need more. And that's where I'm going to end my remarks, because that's where we are. That's the work that stands before us. We need to take our best ideas, our strongest intuitions, and we need to test them. We need to measure whether we've been successful, and we have to be willing to fail, to be wrong, to start over again with lessons learned.
So guys, what do you think of that?
Amazing.
Right? She's a very well-known psychologist who studies success and failure. And as she said, you don't have to necessarily have talent. Grit outweighs and supersedes talent every day.
Mhm.
So hanging in there and at the same time letting go, I want to add, but hanging in there in your business and in sales is what makes champions. Is if when a ball player gets in a slump, a lot of ball players wash out and they quit, or they just stay okay with a low batting average. But the champions don't accept that. They adjust. They adjust and they continue to adjust until they're successful. They do not give up. They do not wash out. Another way to reframe rejection, which is another way to deal with rejection and fear. Fear of failure, fear of success, is keep your vision in focus. Very important. Keep your vision in focus and definitely continue to excel, continue to improve, continue to look for the next thing that you can find that will help you. Do not stay mediocre. Do not stay fixed. Always be willing to evolve. Always be willing to go to the next step. I still go to sales trainings.
Mhm.
I still continue to read. And some of the ways that business people and salespeople get hung up is in busy work. Busy work becomes a subconscious, unconscious way to avoid doing what is difficult. I gotta get my, whatever it is, whatever the small detail is, it can always be done after work. It can always be done for a few hours, but not 80% of the day where you need to be prospecting your business. Those are the hours that matter. The other hours are just all, you know, if you know your product inside out, then you're wasting your time, spending your time doing anything else. You're burning daylight, as one of my mentors used to tell me. Don't burn daylight because you've got to do too many other things that are so important, but they're not. What's important is your next sale, because your next sale is what's going to keep your business alive. And the busy work is what the defense mechanism is always about. There's always a reasonable objection. It was so important to whatever. I can't even think of some of the reasons that I've heard before, but you know, getting my website better defined, getting my niche better defined, getting my my message better defined. BS, go out and get a sale. You're wasting your time. Make sure you have your product, make sure you understand your product, because that has to be well defined. What you offer, because what you offer to sell is what you offer to people, and that's a purpose. What you can offer everyone else in life is a purpose.
Right.
And remember, telling isn't selling. Mostly sales has a lot to do with listening. You've got to be able to listen and be present when you're in the midst of a prospect and you're dealing with them one-on-one. You've got to hear their needs.
Right.
Salespeople don't have a clue what a needs analysis is. They've never even heard of it.
Yeah. They listen to themselves.
They listen to themselves, and to create a needs analysis. What that is, Frania, what a needs analysis is when you are with a trainee, or when you are going to, you're a trainer, and if you're with a prospect when you're actually in the midst of a sales transaction, what a needs analysis is having your prospect tell you why they need you, by you asking the right questions. You can't ask the right questions unless you hear what their needs are. But you want to ask the questions so that they tell you why they need you. If you tell them why they need you, it's worth something. But when they tell you why they need you, it's worth a million. And the way you do that is with something called a needs analysis, by asking them the question that will bring them to telling you why they need you so much.
Yeah.
Someone that's listening to us tonight is a parenting coach. Children and parenting coach. And what something in her needs analysis might be, how many times have you left the room with your child so torn up inside? Can you tell me how many times that's happened? Can you tell me how that feels inside? That's a needs analysis. They're telling her how much they need her. So these are the driving points, is make sure that you are in purpose. Make sure that you are in vision. Make sure that you're not tied up in busy work, and go out there and make this happen for yourself. You need vision and you need passion to make this work. Vision, purpose, and passion. Write those three things down for yourself to move forward. This is all about mindset. I'm not even talking technique now. The only technique I've mentioned so far is needs analysis. Everything else we're talking about is mindset, because this is what washes most people out. This is what gets in their way. Have your vision, purpose, and passion written down so that it won't get in your way, so that the other busy work will not get in your way. And I want to play something else now that has a lot to do with vision, passion, and purpose. This actually was my trainer that I want you, one of my trainers that I'd like you to listen to for a minute.
I let them go for 10 minutes, whatever. And then finally, when it was quiet, I was like, you know what? When you don't have vision and you're not doing anything, all you can do is find fault in other people and complain about it. So, but the people who are changing the world and really have vision don't have time to be paying attention to what everybody else is doing, unless they're just finding a problem to solve that those people aren't solving. And maybe that wasn't nice to say, but it was the right thing to say. Because sometimes part of what we've got to do with the what's bothering us means that, hey, instead of complaining about it, maybe it's your calling in life to actually confront whatever it is. Hey, I get it. You don't like status quo, me neither. So go change it. I understand not being a status quo person. It's how this school was born, out of the fact that, dude, I want to change the world, and I believe coaching can do it. So you know what I'm going to do? Rather than just simply be me trying to coach everybody in the world, you know what I'm going to do is that I'm going to train up, and I'm going to encourage, and I'm going to launch coaches all over the world. And last I checked, we've got a significant global footprint. It's the easiest way for me to change the world is to give it to you. And you're like, hey, you see people, you see cracks, you see different things. Like when you have a vision for the group of people that you want to work with, because that's part of the vision for your business, is not just simply making money, but when you are coaching women, some of you are wanting to coach women, some of you are wanting to coach entrepreneurs or whatever, you see a vision for their life, hopefully. There's a vision about what you're wanting to do. And you know what? I don't have to worry about that people group. Because I know that there was a coach that I trained that's from Bakersfield or from New York or Vermont or whatever. And you're like, hey, you know what? I don't care what you say about Vermont, but I know that there's one little space and there's a niche inside of Vermont that's doing quite well. You know why? Because I know that there's a coach over there that has a vision for those people, and they're there to change lives. What's frustrating you? What depresses you? Whether you see that in the world, whether you see that in your own family, whether you've seen that generationally in your family, whether you're seeing things in your life that's like, man, this is not the picture that I expected to see in my life. Is that depressing? It's a good sign that it actually matters. Why don't you quit being depressed, paint a picture of what you want that to look like, and start giving your life to it every day? Someone who tells me that I don't know what, I don't have meaning and purpose in my life. Is there anything that matters to you that is your meaning and purpose in life? Oh, I'm depressed. That's good. That means you're alive and something matters to you. Now go after that thing. A couple of more questions that you can ask. What makes you angry? Don't waste your anger on just going nuts on people and everything else. Utilize it. There's some reason why it's irritating you and frustrating you. What keeps you up at night? It's a good sign that if it's keeping you up at night, you should be giving your life towards it. What if it never happens? Like, what happens to your heart? What happens in your soul? Is it okay if this thing, this picture that's in your heart, if it never happens? Think about the people besides you who lose out if this picture doesn't happen, especially if that category is family. What happens for your children, your spouse, your family, the generations in the future? What are they missing out if you don't find this thing and give your life to it? And the last thing is, on the positive side, is whose story resolves if it does happen? Like, how different is their life? Because this is what that picture of the future really has to look like. That compelling must, means that it ultimately changes someone's life. When you can get in touch with what drives you crazy and in touch with how it must look, that is a vision. And that will actually create a momentum that drives you towards it. And it's very easy to make your decisions from that point forward. And you know what we do with vision? We refine the vision, but it doesn't really change. We might even change how we do some things along the way, because it's not about the how, it's about the what, and the vision's the what. You need to pour over that vision. You need to write it in explicit detail. You need to share the vision. You need to talk to people about it. Over the next few weeks, we're going to be talking that much more about how do we solidify this and how do we actually share the story of vision so that it catapults us to what we're made for. Hey, let me pay the bills, and then I'm going to look at some questions that you guys.
So what do you think of that guy? Something else, right?
Yeah.
So this vision that we're talking about, it isn't just about sales. When I'm talking about vision, I'm talking about the whole you. I'm talking about what your life is, what you can give back to the world, not just in your business. Your business and your sales is just part of it. You can't really segregate them. They all work together as a whole. That's something important to know. And when he talks about vision, we're not talking about like what it could be. We're not talking about what it looks like. We're talking about what it must be. When your vision gets to that spot, that it's what this must be, you will see that your life will look different. You will see that your sales will change. You will see that your rejection getting in the way and your busy work getting in the way will take a back seat to what must be. That's how this all works. That's how you motivate past fear. That's what does it. And you can design and you can learn new programs. All those old programs and all those tapes we have going around in our heads can be learned, they can be changed. It does take time though. There's no miracle cure here. I'm not saying train with me and you'll get over this. This is something you will be working on for the rest of your life. But to train and actually learn new sales techniques and to incorporate them into your life generally really is 6 to 12 weeks to change habits. That's a normal process. And that's what I've seen. And that's my experience, just to let you know.
Yeah.
So the 7 key areas of the sale, and I'm going to stop pretty much after this. We can continue on the next workshop. But the 7 areas of the sale that I cover with my particular clients with their particular niches, and I can continue to work somewhat in a group setting on these 7 key areas. This is where the mechanics come in. There's actually 7 of them. And they are prospecting, no prospects, no sales, no sales presentation, no revenue, building rapport, that's part of the presentation, identifying needs, that's part of the needs analysis, actually doing the presentation, presenting, that's a whole other category. When you're actually with a client and you want a sale, I recommend a presentation. You know that most salespeople don't even know what a presentation is. They think that they can just know their products, have complete product knowledge, sit down with somebody and hope that price doesn't come up. They hope that they're going to get the sale. They just wing it. Winging it isn't a way. Winging it doesn't work for a champion. They don't wing it. They adjust, but they don't wing it. They know what they're doing. They're professionals.
Yeah.
Answering objections. You have to know how to do that in a presentation. You can't. What happens with objections generally is they're not addressed. But you hear them at the end once you get some experience and you've had the door closed in your face enough times. That's an objection. Thank you very much. I'll get back to you. That's the objection. You did something wrong. What did I do wrong? There's an objection. And the way to deal with objections is not after the presentation. It's during the presentation. Don't wait for them to tell you that they're going to get back to you, that you did a great job. I promise I'll call you back tomorrow. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. I've heard that so many times that I've got nothing to lose by asking them what I did wrong. You've got to have courage in that. And then, of course, the next key area is closing the sales and then getting resales and referrals. And I think that I'm going to stop there. And if Frania allows me to continue on another week, we'll get into prospecting and some of the other key areas of the sale. But that's about it for me in my presentation. I would ask if there's anyone that has any questions or something they want to ask, or if there's something they'd like to go over in more detail. I am all ears, so speak up, forever hold your peace.
Thank you, Harvey. Thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing this wonderful presentation. I think all of us learned something today. I would like to leave the microphone open and see if anyone have a question and the takeout for tonight presentation. Thank you, Harvey. It was great. So Ruth?
Well, my comment listening this time is that my vision for myself is very similar to my vision for my clients. And if I can, and I actually wrote this down, if I can enjoy working with them, find joy, find contentment, working with them, that's what they need to find with their elder living with dementia. And so it's the same. And so that was my takeaway today for, I don't know if that's a question or a comment, but what I am looking for is the same thing my client is looking for.
Great observation, great insight, Ruth.
Yeah, also, Ruth, something that you said is your vision is aligned with your client's vision. So when that happens, you really build that rapport and you're enjoying what you're doing because you both in the same page. I think that's the beauty.
I didn't say I was there yet, but that's part of my goal.
Congratulations. How about Sean?
Yeah, I'm just curious, what if the ultimate question that comes up every single time is the price? Like that's always the very first things that comes out from the client's mouth.
That's great, Sean, and it's true. And the way that I address that is I make sure that I'm prepared, that I have my presentation down so that I know exactly how I'm going to address that without fear. And the very first way, and that often happens depending on who the prospect is. You go, well, how much is this gonna cost? See, well, don't worry, I promise by the time we're done, you will know how much this costs. I will not let you go without telling you. However, there's a lot of information I need to get from you so that I can get you the right design for the right product at the right level that handles and answers your needs. So let me get some more information from you before I get you that price. And basically what you do from there, Sean, is you establish and you show value in your product. You show how your product supersedes whatever price they have going on in the back of their head. You show that your price that your value supersedes the price of your product, and price will not be an issue.
And I tried something new today because Harvey kind of prepped me. And so I got the price very early from the group I was talking with. And I said, the analogy is like, what mileage does a car get, miles per gallon? And I said, you got to know about the car, you got to know about the driving conditions, you got to know about the air in the tires, you got to know about all kinds of things before you can answer that question. So I can't answer your question. And they were like, oh, okay. So maybe to find an analogy like that to go in with, really, I thought of it driving to this meeting today. So for what it's worth, I thought I'd share it.
Oh, very good. It's I can't answer that question yet.
Right, exactly. I need more information.
Yes, very good. That's exactly the way to do it.
Yeah, also I would like to add.
Does that answer your question, Sean?
Yes, thank you so much. I really love that analogy from Ruth, and yeah, makes sense, Harvey.
Yep.
Yeah, and in addition, there are some clients that they are like Speedy Gonzalez. They start asking you for price before you start the presentation. I have those cases. And you know, they start asking you for the suite. And I say, okay, could you give me the opportunity to explain everything? And then at the end, we're gonna talk about the price. Because sometimes that happens and we need to ask for permission and ask them to give you the opportunity to explain first. So it is something that can be done as well. So let me listen to Lynette. Thanks for being here, Lynette.
Hi.
Hi.
I work with Harvey. I work with Harvey one-on-one.
Good.
So I'm pretty cool on, I don't have a problem with telling them they have to wait till the end. Like, I'm just like, listen, I gotta first show you what I can do
Right.
in order for you to know if I'm a fit for you or not, and if the price is gonna work. I can't just tell you a price for something that is in thin air. Like, you don't see it, it's not tangible. I gotta show you what I can do so that you can then see if it's worth it. That's how I usually approach it.
Great. Great.
Thanks for that.
Welcome.
Thanks. Bruni. Bruni.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for
I'm-
being here, Bruni.
Jenny, anytime. No, I'm sorry. I got connected a little late. So for now, I don't have any question. Thank you.
All right, all right. But something interesting that Walkman, what is her name? The first video that you placed, Harvey? I think it's Walkman.
Oh, but no, that was Angela Duckworth.
Angela, okay. So something interesting that she said is that the importance of taking action. And you can have the bigger vision of what you want to do, but if you don't make that step and you do with repetition, that's what will make you success. So if we don't take action and start doing what we're supposed to do, nothing happens. And no matter if you have a high IQ or, you know, you can be the smarter person in this planet, but if you don't take action, you're not gonna get nowhere. Thank you so much. For those that doesn't know me, I'm Frania Gutierrez, and I conduct the event Brainstorming Coffee Group. And also we do a show where we are able to interview professionals as well, and they can, you know, talk about their business and everything. So I know Harvey is also a coach, is a sales coach, right, Harvey?
Yes, that's right.
If you need his service, you can contact us or maybe send us an email to info@franiag.com. And also you have the information in the screen, so you can take the information and click like when you watch this video again and share with people that also need it. We're here to give to the community, and we are so happy to have you here and share with you our knowledge and power. Thank you, Harvey. Thank you, everyone.
You're very welcome. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.